In ancient China, emperors ruled by the mandate of heaven. Today, billionaires rise by the mandate of money. But here's the catch. Both are temporary. In China, you don't inherit total control. You're granted conditional power. By the market, by the public, and most importantly, by the state. Western entrepreneurs chase freedom. Chinese billionaires chase approval, then quietly build leverage beneath it. They know the government can make you and unmake you faster than any market crash. Let's talk about permission. In most economies, permission is legal. In China, permission is political. To launch a payment platform, you need regulators. To IPO abroad, you need policy alignment. To expand into media, you need unofficial blessings. And if you move without it, you risk everything. A billionaire CEO preparing for a global IPO. Tech is solid. Revenue? Exploding. Investors? Hungry. But behind the scenes? A single phone call from Beijing. And it's over. Billions lost in hours. Why? Because in China, success must serve the narrative, not just the balance sheet. This creates a unique mindset. Chinese billionaires don't chase dominance. They chase alignment with national goals, with cultural values, with regional politics. And once aligned, they accelerate faster than anyone on earth. That's where the mandate of money kicks in. You're rich, but only if your wealth is a stabilizing, a strategic, state sympathetic. That means investing in a rural infrastructure, a green energy, poverty alleviation, a digital education, party-backed initiatives. But don't think they're just pawns. The savviest Chinese billionaires use this dynamic to amplify their own empires. They don't wait for approval. They preempt needs. One sees a policy shift toward AI. He funds 12 new labs. Another sees Beijing pushing fintech reform. She restructures overnight and offers her platform as a national prototype. They understand the game. In China, the state doesn't want absolute obedience. It wants predictable value. If you can deliver that, at speed, at scale, at zero drama, you gain privileges few others will ever touch. But the price? You're always one step from vanishing. So you build quietly, you scale symbiotically, and you master silent dominance. This is the mandate of money. Temporary, conditional, but incredibly powerful if wielded with humility, speed, and strategy. They build billion-dollar empires, yet live like monks. They lead tech revolutions, yet avoid headlines. They rise at lightning speed, yet move like shadows. These are the Chinese billionaires, forged in policy, pressure, and paradox. And this is the mindset that drives them. Law 1. Scale first. Speak later. Western billionaires pitch before they build. Chinese billionaires? They launch, scale, and only then speak. Why? Because success invites surveillance. And silence is the best incubator. Law 2. Power must appear aligned. Your wealth means nothing unless it serves the national narrative. Every business must tie back to education, poverty alleviation, technological sovereignty. If it doesn't, you're disposable. Law 3. Structure is everything. Forget flash. They build holding companies within holding companies, layered across Singapore, BVI, Cayman, and Shanghai. Each serves a function: a legal defense, an asset shielding, political insulation. You can't destroy what you can't trace. Law 4. Obedience is a power play. True strength is not rebellion. It's knowing when to bend and how to rise without threatening the throne. The smartest Chinese billionaires bow early, so they can own silently later. Law 5. Loyalty must be performed, not just pledged. They don't just obey laws. They perform patriotism. They invest in rural clinics, sponsor national events, publicly praise government programs, not for PR, but as strategic armor. Law 6. Visibility kills. They don't do TED Talks. They avoid lifestyle interviews. They rarely post on Weibo, because in China, attention is currency, and too much invites confiscation. Law 7. The game is global. The name is local. You may never see their name on a Forbes list, but they control logistics in Africa, real estate in London, a data infrastructure in Southeast Asia. They own without owning. They control through proxies. And their names are often hidden in translation. This is the Chinese billionaire code. Move fast, scale wide, speak little, serve visibly, survive quietly. Because here, success is not guaranteed by innovation. It's protected by alignment, architecture, and cultural fluency. This is the billionaire mindset. Episode 5. China. In most countries, becoming a billionaire is rare. In China, it's a race against time, a race against the state, a race against irrelevance. Because here, fortunes rise in months and vanish in hours. In the West, billionaires take decades to build empires. In China, they build in sprints. And many start not with code or capital, but with grit, sweat, and sacrifice. Let's rewind. The first wave of Chinese billionaires didn't come from Silicon Valley. They came from factory floors, state-owned enterprises, streets selling pirated DVDs, rural farming villages. They weren't groomed. They were forged. 1990s Shenzhen. Smog, speed, chaos. A young entrepreneur sleeps under his desk, importing tech parts by day, assembling them at night. Fast forward 10 years. That desk becomes a data empire. This is the rhythm of Chinese billionaire building. A start lean, a scale fast, a go national, a get state attention, a adapt or disappear. Then came the second wave, the super app moguls. They didn't just build apps. They built ecosystems. A messaging, a banking, a shopping, a media, healthcare, all inside one digital fortress. You don't leave the app, you live inside it. And these founders weren't just technologists. They were sociologists, politicians, and platform psychologists, wrapped into one. They learned that in China, success isn't about innovation alone. It's about compliance, speed, and scale. Because the moment you scale in China, you don't just gain users, you gain state visibility. And that changes the game. Most Chinese billionaires move with precision. A hire former military intelligence for cybersecurity. They embed party committees into company boards. A fund rural infrastructure projects. A host public loyalty events with local officials. It's not just business. It's theater of survival. But make no mistake, these are some of the most sophisticated business minds alive. They've scaled platforms to billions of transactions per day. They've optimized logistics at national levels. They've created social engineering tools that shape behavior at scale. And they did it all in less than 2 decades. This is the Chinese billionaire advantage. They don't play slow. They play high risk, high reward, high stakes capitalism inside a watchful state. They innovate like pirates, scale like soldiers, and pivot like diplomats. Western billionaires go global with brands. Chinese billionaires go global with blueprints. No press tours, no hype, just quiet saturation. Because in China, global power isn't something you announce. It's something you embed. Let's begin with the foundation, capital diplomacy. While Western firms focus on ROI, Chinese billionaires focus on geostrategic value. They fund infrastructure in Africa. They back logistics in Latin America. They invest in energy in the Middle East. And always with alignment to state goals. A $1 billion port in Sri Lanka, built by a Chinese conglomerate, financed by a billionaire's bank, leased for 99 years to China. It's not just trade. It's territorial leverage dressed as development. But it doesn't stop at physical assets. They control mining rights in Central Asia, telecom contracts in Eastern Europe, e-commerce platforms in Southeast Asia. And yet, you'll never see their names on billboards. Because their power isn't in branding, it's in back-end dominance. Then comes the cultural layer. Chinese billionaires don't try to become Hollywood. They fund museums with Confucian exhibits, Chinese language schools across Africa, streaming platforms with curated nationalist content. It's not entertainment, it's cultural encoding. Even in luxury, they move with intent. Fashion acquisitions in France, real estate in London, resorts in the Maldives. Not for escape, but for soft positioning. Make Chinese taste desirable, and you shift the global aesthetic. Meanwhile, back home, they stay quiet. Because the game isn't to flaunt influence, it's to be unavoidable without being identified. Here's the real genius. They use proxies, a fund in Singapore, a holding group in Mauritius, a local partner in Nigeria. The business may look local, but the wiring flows through China. And when things go south, they restructure, sell to allies, or retreat into the state's embrace. Because the Chinese billionaire doesn't fear loss. He fears irrecoverable exposure. That's why their global influence feels invisible. Because it's non-linear. They don't need to be the face. They only need to own the frame. In China, you can go from headline to ghost in a single news cycle. Because here, success isn't just celebrated. It's monitored. China's billionaires live in a constant paradox. They are celebrated nation builders and potential national threats. The line between legend and liability, paper thin. Let's start with the reality. The higher you rise, the more you're watched. Not just by the market, but by the state itself. Every IPO, every speech, every foreign investment is scrutinized for loyalty. A billionaire founder delivers a bold keynote. He criticizes regulation. He hints at systemic reform. Applause echoes. Weeks later, he vanishes. No trial, no statements, just silence and restructuring. This isn't drama. It's the architecture of deterrence. A reminder that in China, you don't get too big to fail. You get too visible to continue. Surveillance isn't just digital. It's cultural. Insiders report. Employees self-censor. Executives avoid unscripted press. Not because they're scared, because they understand. Visibility is a performance, and missteps can cost an empire. So what's the billionaire strategy? Dominate quietly. Avoid flashy interviews. Reject flamboyant spending. Never outshine the state. Instead, channel success into a rural development, AI research aligned with party goals, poverty eradication tech, a green city infrastructure. You expand by serving the mission. Even the richest CEOs frame their empires as tools for national glory. They don't say, "I built this." They say, "We built this for China." It's not humility, it's protective framing. And when the pressure gets too high, some vanish by choice. Relocate to Singapore, shift board roles to proxies, rebrand under state influence. Not exile, evolution. This is the ultimate high-wire act. To dominate markets, while blending into shadows. To become essential, but never irreplaceable. To scale the ladder, but never shake it. It's what makes the Chinese billionaire class so unique. They aren't just entrepreneurs. They're diplomats inside a data state. And their greatest skill isn't strategy or scale. It's survival through silence. In the West, entrepreneurship means rebellion. In China, it means obedience, reimagined as ambition. Because here, success isn't built on disruption. It's built on order. Confucius preached 5 relationships: a ruler and subject, parent and child, a husband and wife, older and younger sibling, a friend and friend. In business, Chinese billionaires treat these as corporate commandments. The boss isn't a visionary. He's a father figure. The boardroom isn't a battleground. It's a family hall. Hierarchy isn't toxic. It's structure that protects scale. This is the Confucian capitalist mindset. A loyalty matters more than innovation. A harmony outweighs ego. A speed is respected, but patience is sacred. A tech founder mentoring his executives. He doesn't challenge them. He guides them, like a master shaping disciples. He doesn't demand ideas. He expects devotion, clarity, and collective growth. It's not about thinking different. It's about thinking in alignment. That's why Chinese companies move like armies, not tribes. They're built on a shared sacrifice, a long-term trust, collective identity. And billionaires? They don't present themselves as rock stars. They present as benevolent generals. Even when scaling globally, they use this model. Offices in Dubai or London, run by trusted insiders, groomed in the core culture, not outsiders with flashy resumes. Because for Chinese billionaires, expansion doesn't mean dilution. It means controlled replication. Now enter ownership. In Confucian capitalism, ownership isn't about personal glory. It's about collective elevation. Billionaires pour wealth into a family networks, a regional towns, a party-endorsed programs, a ancestral hometowns. Not because they're forced to, but because it's encoded into their success model. This is where Western observers get confused. Why would a billionaire build a school in a rural village? Or gift land to the state? Because that cements his dynasty, not just in reputation, but in historical and spiritual alignment. This philosophy even extends into brand storytelling. A CEOs appearing with their mothers, executives bowing during ceremonies, a billionaires deflecting credit onto their teams or ancestors. It's humility, but also strategic soft power. You don't just look good, you look culturally correct. So when you see a Chinese billionaire with no yacht, no flashy cars, no podcasts, don't mistake it for lack of power. It's coded power. The kind that lasts because it aligns with thousands of years of philosophy, structure, and societal rhythm. In the next act, we shift into darker territory. What happens when alignment slips, and a billionaire becomes too big, too bold, or too independent? We enter the realm of disappearance, digital shadow, and state resets.